My disease of choice is the Ebola disease, and this is my introductory slide. It's by me, of course, Kevin Ramirez. Okay, so I'm going to be starting off by talking about the etiology of the disease, like what it's about. So, the Ebola disease comes from the genus Ebola virus. There's actually the six different strands of the Ebola virus, four of which are known to be pathogenic to humans. For example, well, I know it says there's four types of Ebola viruses, but these are the pathogenic types. Being the Zaire virus, which causes the Ebola virus disease, the Sudan Ebola virus, which causes the Sudan virus disease, the type 4 Ebola virus, and the Bundibugyo Ebola virus. Okay, continuing so forth. Some of the characteristics of the Ebola disease is that it is a part of the Filoviridae family. It is membrane enveloped. It is filament-like, long-stretched filament-like viral particles, and has a negative sense single-stranded RNA. Moving forward. The reservoir and modes of transmission. So the Ebola virus, I feel like at one point I remember being younger and hearing about this Ebola virus and being so like terrified because at one point it was like the biggest uh disease in the world, it seemed like. But what I didn't know is that it mainly revolved only like around a specific location, like kind of mainly Africa. And I feel like because of that, it's not as dangerous as people think it is because it's not easily transmitted from person to person. Like infected animals can have it, like, for example, like fruit bats or other non-human primates, but its mode of transmission is mainly bodily fluids, like urine, feces, vomit, sweat, etc. This disease, I mean, the virus does not spread from sharing like water, food, and it is not an airborne disease. So someone who has Ebola virus and is showing symptoms can be coughing in the air, and the disease isn't going to live in the air for very long because it's not an airborne disease. This is not to say that the virus can't live on an inanimate object. For example, someone who is infected, right? Say they for some reason they peed on a doorknob. That virus will live on that doorknob for like several hours outside of the body, but it is not transmitted through water, food, or is airborne. You have to come into contact with someone who who has the Ebola virus disease, who is known to have it, and who is like actively showing symptoms. Oh, it has also been known to, well, it is not a very common way of mode of transmission, but it can be sexually transmitted as it has been proven to be transmitted from the male semen during sexual intercourse. But it is not likely. Okay, continuing so forth. The pathogenesis of the Ebola disease. It can enter the body in through many different ways. It breaks the skin. It is injected directly into the body. Uh, it infects many cell types. hmm in the beginning, oh, actually, sorry. Later on, when it gets more dangerous in the body, once it's been like in your body for a long time, it can actually like create organ failure. And this is because it releases a lot of pro-inflammatory cytokines, or like it's your body's response. So it sends a storm, which includes these pro-inflammatory cytokines, which is usually like a good thing because inflammation of the body usually means that your body is reacting to a foreign entity, and it means that your immune system is actively working. However, because it's sending these pro-inflammatory cytokines, uh, it also simultaneously hurts your body in a way because it's also sending out these contradictory cells, which which hurt your tissues and your immune system cells. Okay, damage. Okay, according to Johns Hopkins Medicine, the average fatality rate of the Ebola virus amongst historically significant outbreaks is said to be around 50%. It is known as a hemorrhagic fever virus because I don't think no, it reduces the ability of the body to blood clot, which causes internal bleeding. Because of this internal bleeding, organs fail, resulting in death. It affects like organs like the kidneys and the spleen. Most dangerous in West Africa between 2014 and 2016. This was actually the most known outbreak, the outbreak that I felt like I knew when I was younger. And it had a 39% fatality rate amongst nearly 30,000 reported cases. Symptoms of the Ebola disease. These are only some because I don't want to list the various amounts of of symptoms that there are for this disease. But this is actually very similar to the flu in the beginning, but but then it worsens as you get into the later stages of having the disease. For example, fevers, headaches, fatigue, muscle pain. It's all kind of similar to the flu, but as you go on, you can experience like um, more serious symptoms such as diarrhea, vomiting, death, internal bleeding, a whole array of things. Okay, diagnosing the Ebola disease. So, in order to diagnose yourself, well, you can't really diagnose yourself, right? But if you believe to have this Ebola disease, you have to know that this disease doesn't reside in all parts of the world. For example, even in the most dangerous like time of this Ebola disease, being the 2014-2016 period, it mainly resided in parts of Africa. We only had, I mean, the United States only had 11 reported cases of the Ebola disease, two of which resulted in death. So it wasn't prone to the US population. So that's one of the first things a physician would ask you in diagnosing you with the disease, stating like, have you been to an area where there was an Ebola outbreak, such as Africa? And you have to have been in that place at least within 21 days of there being the outbreak. And you have to show symptoms, and you have to have come into contact with the bodily fluid of said infected person. Mhm. Treatment. So the treatment for this disease is kind of general, unless you look at like specific treatments like for the disease, such as the drugs Inmazeb and Ebenga. They're monoclonal antibodies, which are FDA approved, and they are the only two that are approved that treat the disease. Mhm. But other ways of treatment, well, of treating it is like supplying bodily fluids, monitoring vitals, and treatment of other infections that arise. Preventing the disease. To prevent the Ebola disease, it is important to know the common way the disease spreads, as said prior, just, with bodily fluids. And it spreads through specific modes of transmission and can be spread indirectly, like, for example, the doorknob thing that I said earlier. And yeah, there has been a vaccine approved by the FDA called Vivo, and it was approved in 2019. Yes. Threat in the future. The threat of the Ebola virus coming back in the future is very low because of the type of the virus, because of the type of virus it is. It doesn't mutate easily. But the Ebola virus has been known since 1976 and has come back through various parts of history. So it is possible. And that is all.